I always thought my life was perfect. My husband, Jason, he was everything I ever wanted. Charming, successful, always there when I needed him. People envied us. Friends would say, "You two are so lucky. Your life is like a dream." And I believed it. I wanted to believe it. But sometimes, just sometimes, I felt a tiny whisper of doubt. Nothing big. Nothing I could put my finger on. A text that made him smile and quickly hide the phone. A sudden late night at work, or a mysterious friend he never mentioned. I told myself I was imagining things. I told myself that love was enough, that trust was enough. Yet deep down, I knew that feeling wouldn't just go away. It lingered like a shadow I couldn't shake. That shadow would soon become a storm I never expected. It started with small things, little cracks in the life I thought was unbreakable. A phone left face down on the table, an unfamiliar name flashing on the screen, a laugh he tried too hard to hide. At first, I brushed it off. I told myself I was being paranoid, that maybe I was overthinking. But then, the feeling grew stronger. Gnawing at the edges of my mind, I began noticing patterns. The way he would leave the room when certain messages came through. The late nights at work that didn't make sense, and the sudden, inexplicable charm that seemed more for someone else than me. I remember one night clearly. I had come home earlier than usual. The house was silent. Too silent. Jason's car was gone, but I felt it. A tension in the air that I couldn't explain. And then, I saw it. His phone, left carelessly on the couch. My heart pounded as I hesitated, knowing I shouldn't look. But the curiosity, the fear, the need to know the truth. It was stronger than me. I unlocked his phone, and what I saw made my stomach drop. Flirty texts, secret plans, little jokes meant to make her smile. Messages I had no right to read, but somehow, I felt like I deserved to. My hands were shaking. The woman in the messages, someone I knew, someone close, someone I trusted. Every word I read, every image I saw, shattered something inside me, a feeling of betrayal, of disbelief. How could the man I loved, the man I trusted with my life, have a secret world I never knew existed? That night I lay in bed pretending to sleep, listening to the quiet rhythm of our home. But nothing felt quiet anymore. The walls, the pictures, even his breathing. Everything seemed different. I realized for the first time that the life I thought I had was nothing but a carefully constructed illusion. And the truth was waiting to break me completely. I couldn't sleep that night. My mind was racing, heart pounding with every thought. I kept replaying the messages, the images, the little moments I had missed. And then I made a decision. I had to know the truth, no matter how much it hurt. I waited for him to come home. Every minute felt like an hour. When I heard the sound of the keys in the door, my stomach twisted. I stayed calm, pretending everything was normal, but inside, I was shaking. He walked in, smiling like nothing had changed, and I said it, my voice steady but cold. "Jason, we need to talk." He froze. I could see it in his eyes, the guilt, the fear, the panic. He tried to smile, to make a joke, but it fell flat. "I know everything," I said. "The messages, the pictures, the lies. Who is she?" He opened his mouth, hesitated, and then tried to explain. But every word sounded like a weak excuse. I could feel the anger rising inside me, mixed with disbelief and heartbreak. "Years of secrets," I whispered, my voice breaking. "All those times I trusted you, all those times I believed in us, were lies." He tried to take my hand, but I pulled away. I couldn't forgive him yet. not like this. Not until I understood why. That night, the house felt colder. The life I thought I had was gone. And I realized for the first time that trust, once broken, is almost impossible to rebuild. Every glance at him now, every word he says. I can't stop thinking about her. And I don't know if I ever will. The days after the confrontation felt like living in a fog. Everything around me was the same, but nothing felt normal. I walked through our house, seeing the same walls, the same furniture, the same pictures. But each one now felt like a reminder of the lies I kept asking myself, questions I didn't want answers to. How long had this been going on? How could I have missed it? And most painfully, why didn't he tell me himself? Friends and family noticed the change. Some tried to comfort me. Others didn't know what to say. And Jason, he was everywhere and nowhere at the same time. He wanted forgiveness, but I wasn't ready to give it. How could I? Every time I saw my phone, every notification, I feared it was another secret. Every laugh I heard from him felt like a lie I couldn't trust. I began to realize that the betrayal didn't just hurt in that moment. It lingered, twisting and turning in my mind, growing heavier each day. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't focus. And sometimes I wondered if I had ever really known him. The person I had loved, trusted, and built a life with was someone I didn't recognize anymore. But even in this pain, there was clarity. I knew I had a choice. I could let this break me completely, or I could find my own strength. And maybe, just maybe, I could survive, because life goes on, even when your world has been shattered. And I knew I had to rebuild myself, one piece at a time. It wasn't just the messages. As the days went on, I started noticing other things. Little clues I had missed. Small pieces of the puzzle that made my stomach twist, receipts for dinners I wasn't invited to. Photos he had deleted from his phone. But somehow, I managed to recover them. And then came the whispers from people I thought I could trust, offhand comments. Things that didn't make sense at the time, but now, they all pointed to the same truth. This wasn't a one-time mistake. This was a secret life he had been living for years. I felt like I was unraveling. The man I loved, the life I trusted, it was all built on lies. I remembered the nights he said he was working late, the weekends he needed space, the small excuses I accepted without question. They weren't innocent. They were all part of the story he had carefully hidden from me. And then, the worst part, realizing how easily I could have missed it forever. How many years had passed while I smiled, laughed, and trusted, completely unaware of the life he had built behind my back. I started questioning myself too. Did I do something wrong? Was I not enough? The thoughts were suffocating, and the anger was constant. But beneath all the pain, a part of me knew one thing. I needed the truth, every secret, every lie, every hidden detail. I needed to see it, even if it broke me completely. So I began to dig deeper. I started noticing patterns, dates, places, and then I found something that made my blood run cold. A series of emails, carefully hidden, that revealed a plan I had never imagined. The woman, she wasn't just a fleeting fling. She had been a part of his life in ways I couldn't even begin to understand. And suddenly, everything made sense. Every smile, every late night, every suspicious call. It wasn't random. It was calculated. I realized in that moment that I had been living in a bubble of trust that had been shattered beyond repair. And as much as I wanted to hate him, Part of me was terrified of what else I might discover, because sometimes the truth is more dangerous than the lie. I couldn't hold it in any longer. I had uncovered enough to know the full extent of his betrayal. My hands were shaking as I waited for him at home, but this time, I wasn't just asking questions, I needed answers. When he walked in, I looked him straight in the eyes. "Jason, I know everything. The messages, the emails, the plans, everything." He froze. His confident mask crumbled instantly. He tried to speak, but I cut him off. "Don't lie to me. I've seen the proof. Years of lies. You've built a life I never knew existed. And why? Why betray me like this?" His voice faltered. He stammered, searching for words that didn't exist. The calm, loving man I had married was gone. In his place was someone I barely recognized. Ashamed, cornered, guilty. I didn't mean for it to go this far," he whispered. I love you." I laughed bitterly, a hollow, broken sound. "Love? Do you even know what that means? Do you even know how much you've hurt me?" Tears ran down my cheeks as the rage and heartbreak battled inside me. I wanted to scream, to hit, to make him feel a fraction of the pain I felt. But I stayed calm, controlled, because I needed him to understand the damage he had done. "You've destroyed everything," I said quietly, but every word carried a weight that made him flinch. Our trust, our home, our life, gone, all because of her. He tried to reach for me, to hold my hand, but I stepped back. The distance between us felt like an ocean, impossible to cross. And in that moment, I realized the truth. Some things cannot be fixed. Some betrayals leave scars that never fade. I didn't know what the future held. I didn't know if I could forgive him or even want to. But one thing was certain. I had seen the truth. And now, I had to decide how I would live with it. After the confrontation, the house felt emptier than ever. Every corner reminded me of the life I thought I had, a life that had been built on lies I couldn't stop replaying. The moments, the laughter, the late-night talks, everything now felt like a mask. But slowly, amid the heartbreak, I began to realize something. I had survived the worst. I had faced the truth, even when it shattered me, and maybe that was the first step toward healing. I started small. I spent more time with myself, walking in the quiet of the evenings, sitting by the window with a cup of tea, letting the silence wash over me. It was peaceful in a way I hadn't known before, and it gave me space to think. I began to see things clearly. This betrayal, as painful as it was, didn't define me. It didn't take away my strength, my worth, or my ability to love myself. I realized that some people are only in our lives for a season, and some lessons come in the form of heartbreak. I knew the path ahead wouldn't be easy. Trust once broken doesn't come back overnight. Forgiveness, if it ever comes, takes time. But I was determined to rebuild, not just my life, but my sense of self. And with each passing day, I felt a little stronger, a little braver. I started setting boundaries, rediscovering my passions, and reminding myself that my happiness didn't depend on anyone else. Even in the aftermath of betrayal, life goes on. And I knew one day I would look back and realize that surviving this was the beginning of something new, a version of myself I hadn't met before. Days turned into weeks, and slowly I began to feel like myself again. The heaviness in my chest lightened, and the anger that had consumed me started to fade. I realized that holding on to the pain didn't protect me. It only kept me trapped. I started focusing on the things that mattered to me, Small joys, simple routines, moments that reminded me I was alive and capable of happiness. I spent more time with friends who truly cared, nurturing relationships that were honest and supportive. I also began setting boundaries with Jason. Our life together had changed forever, and I couldn't pretend that everything was the same. But I discovered something surprising. Peace comes not from revenge or anger, but from accepting W had is and choosing how you move forward. Some nights, memories of the betrayal still haunted me. I won't lie, they still stung. But instead of letting them control me, I let them teach me. I learned to recognize my own strength, to trust my instincts, and to know my worth. It took months, but eventually, I reached a place I never thought I could. A place where the pain no longer controlled me, and the betrayal no longer defined me. I realized that the life I had imagined with Jason, perfect, unshakable, safe, was never really mine. And that was okay. I understood something crucial. We can't control the choices of others, but we can control how we respond. The betrayal had tried to break me, but it also forced me to see my own strength. It showed me that I am capable of surviving heartbreak, of standing tall when everything falls apart. I also realized that forgiveness doesn't always mean reconciliation. I could forgive him in my own way to free myself from anger and resentment, but that didn't mean I had to stay. My future wasn't tied to someone who had built a secret life behind my back. My happiness depended on me alone. And finally, I understood the most important lesson of all. Love begins with yourself. No betrayal, no secret, no lie can take away the value of who I am. The world can be cruel, people can be deceptive, but my sense of self, my worth, that is mine to protect forever. As I stood by the window looking at the city lights, I smiled. Not a forced, hollow smile, but a real one. A smile of survival. A smile of knowing that I had endured, learned, and grown. And in that moment, I felt free. Because sometimes the end of one story is just the beginning of another. Looking back now, I realize how much I have changed. The woman I was before, trusting, naive, always seeking validation. She's still there, but stronger, wiser. An unshakable betrayal teaches you harsh lessons. It shatters illusions, forces you to face reality, and pushes you into the depths of your own strength. And while I would never wish the pain on anyone, I am grateful for what it taught me. I've learned that love isn't about possession or control. It's about respect, honesty, and trust. And when those things are broken, the best response isn't revenge, but reclaiming your own life. I am learning to trust again, not blindly, but with awareness. I am learning to love again, starting with myself. And I am learning that happiness doesn't come from anyone else. It comes from within. Life moves forward, and so do I. The past may have left scars, but scars are proof of survival, proof that we endured, proof that we can rise again. So if you are watching this and you've ever faced betrayal, heartbreak, or lies, know this: you are stronger than you think. You can heal. You can grow. And one day you will look back and see that surviving the storm was the start of something beautiful. Because endings aren't always about loss. They're about transformation. Life has a way of teaching us lessons we never asked for. The betrayal, the heartbreak, the sleepless nights, they all brought me to this moment, a moment where I finally feel free. I have learned to walk with my head held high, to trust my instincts, and to cherish the life I choose for myself. The past is no longer a weight on my shoulders. It's a lesson, a reminder of my strength, a part of my story that shaped who I am today. I am choosing to embrace the future, to open my heart to possibilities, and to never let someone else's deception define my happiness. Every morning, every small victory, every smile is proof that I am rebuilding, stronger and wiser than before. And as I take this first step into a new chapter, I know one thing for certain. My life belongs to me. I am in control. I am resilient. And I am ready for whatever comes next. Because endings can be beautiful. And sometimes a broken chapter is simply the start of a story far greater than we ever imagined.